It's now my great privilege to introduce our 2010 Convocation guest speaker, Mary Collins. Mary has had an important career as a freelance writer and book author, as well as an editor for National Geographic and the Smithsonian Institute. In addition, she's taught at the Johns Hopkins Masters in Creative Writing program and is currently a professor of creative writing at Central Connecticut State University. Mary has written on a wide variety of topics and has won numerous awards for her works, including Best Essay of the Year and Best Adult Book. Her most recent book, American Idol, I-D-L-E, not I-D-O-L, A Journey Through the Sedentary Culture, won the 2010 Grand Prize for the Indie Book Awards for the best book by an independent publisher. It also won the Best Book of the Year from the American Independent Writers Group. I first came to know of Mary through her mother, Connie Collins Kane. Connie is a physical therapy and physical education graduate of the Sargent College class of 1950. And Connie is here this weekend because some of our older alums like to come on commencement weekend and reunion with their class. So she's celebrating her 60th reunion today. Connie sent me a copy of her daughter Mary's most recent book, American Idol. Mary had been a college varsity athlete, an avid basketball player, and a runner. She had a devastating bicycle accident that seriously limited her mobility, and as she put it, as a result, she became more like the average American, lucky if she engaged in moderate exercise 3 times a week. The book tells the story of Mary's recovery from the accident and her 3-year journey across the United States to find out why Americans are so sedentary and to determine the effects of a sedentary lifestyle on our social, cultural, moral, and physical being. I was struck by how much Mary's lifestyle had been influenced by her mother's education at Sargent College 60 years earlier, and how the issues that Mary was now concerned with were so similar to those of Dudley Allen Sargent, who had founded Sargent College in 1870. The combination of Mary's personal road of physical rehabilitation and her connection with the issues faced by our founder, those which are still an important topic of study at our college, made me think that she would be an extremely appropriate commencement speaker. I'm very pleased to have Mary with us here today.
It's a great honor to be asked to speak here today. Thank you, Dean Waters. I had a wonderful moment yesterday at the 60th reunion table with my mother, who's over there on the right-hand side. The women that were at that table, yeah, I'd love to have her stand up. Connie Sullivan, Collins Kane, 60th reunion, Sargent College. I'll tell you, they were singing camp songs like they were young girls. I mean, it was great. And it was so inspiring. That generation was such a cutting-edge generation. And it took their education to open up the doors for them. And I'm so happy and proud of all of you today that you're on that same road by getting a degree at this amazing institution. So congratulations. Now, the irony is you must all sit while I tell you about how much more you should be moving. But my book, American Idol, A Journey Through a Sedentary Culture, opens with my bicycle accident. It was so severe that I have no memory of it, and I was helicoptered from the scene. I didn't know if I was going to survive. They thought I had broken my neck, and it was my excellent physical condition that actually saved my life. I had been a college athlete. I had the accident when I was 40. I was still a very avid basketball player and runner at that time. And it became so devastating that I couldn't even walk a half a mile without dragging my left leg. I couldn't sit for more than 30 minutes. I was running a professional writing career and I couldn't sit at a desk. I couldn't go to a restaurant. I couldn't go to church. I sank into a depression because of my immobility. It took me years to regain my physical self. It was physical therapy, actually, and swimming that allowed to regain my life. But along the way, I thought to myself, why are 60% of Americans choosing the life that was forced upon me because of my accident. They do little or no movement every week. And again, I had sunk into a depression, which was uncharacteristic for me. So it actually affected my mental health, my spiritual health. So I decided to go on a journey. At the time, I was already a writer for National Geographic and the Smithsonian. I had a very successful writing business. So it was only natural that I would write a book about what had happened to me. Now, the book opens with my accident, but I quickly lose myself as a character. I am not that interesting. I always tell my writing students, you know, if you write in first person, always think about what's your larger story. I wanted to know why the majority of Americans choose to live a life as immobile as my life after the accident. Ever since the Eisenhower administration, 60% or more of Americans have been overweight and underactive. 60% since the 1950s, despite billions of dollars spent on educational programs, fitness classes, and organized sports, the number is unchanged. So I wrote the book because we need a new conversation about this intractable problem. I started at a hunter-gatherer site in Kansas because I wanted to know from experts, what is our physical legacy? Our bodies are unchanged in the last 10,000 years. What those hunter-gatherers were able to do, we also are able to do. And I learned that we are truly built for tremendous endurance, and we are truly one of the great long-distance trekkers ever that have been on the earth. I then thought, well, I'll go to the Olympic Center and see supremely fit athletes and do something positive and talk about ways that we have exceeded our ancestors. But the Olympic director did not want to talk about that. He wanted to talk about the immense growing divide between the average person and the elite athlete. He wanted to talk about the devastation of organized sports for children under 12. He had done studies that found that children in organized activities will do as little as 5 minutes of activity in the hour, like on a volleyball team or on baseball. But if given spontaneous play, they'll move 45 minutes in that same hour, and that there was no coincidence that the organized sports leagues and the rise in obesity had run on the same track. Well, at that point, I knew that I was onto something with this book, that even the people that I thought were going to advocate the way that we do things now were telling me a different story. Every assumption that I had started with as an athlete, thinking it was about willpower, being quite judgmental, actually, not understanding as a person who's always been thin why anyone would battle with weight. All of a sudden I thought, I don't know the answer to anything, which is the power of writing, actually. And so I began to talk to people in the field. And the turning point for me was when I went into Washington, D.C., to a very poor Hispanic neighborhood with a translator. Guatemalans, El Salvadorians, when they come to the United States, their children have a 50% chance of becoming diabetics because of the lifestyle change. I didn't understand why they would allow their children to sink into such poor health. It opened my mind to see how hard they work. It opened my mind to see how unsafe their public spaces were. They were incapable of using them with their children. They would work 2 and 3 jobs. They had to put the children in the apartments in front of a TV. It was the only safe space for them. Then I knew, to me, this was a civil rights violation of the first order. We were not giving them the right to happiness in this country by denying them access to safe spaces, by denying their children a chance to move freely. At that point, I knew I was going to finish the book, and it was incredibly motivating. So what role can all of you do in turning this around? What role can all of you in these health sciences do to start a movement? And that's really what I'm asking today of all of you. We have to reclaim the right to move in healthful ways on a daily basis in our daily lives. Because that's the answer for most Americans. Not all of the things that we discipline ourselves to do, not all the classes that we choose to do, the exercise classes, the sports, but something that goes into the natural flow, something that involves rethinking city planning, rethinking commuting, rethinking employers and schools and the role that they have in the way that we move through our days. Now, Dr. Dudley Allen Sargent, the namesake of this school, helped usher in the age of measured, regimented exercise, actually. And that does absolutely have its place. Without the measured, regiment physical therapy routine, I would not have recovered from my surgery. I would not have been able to sit at the concert last night, and I would not be standing here. So the work that you do, the regimented discipline work that you do, is vital. But let me share with you other ways that I've regained my active life. I work at a stand-up desk. I sit and I move and I sit and I move and I stand and I walk around. I reclaimed my life as a writer because I moved to standing up when I work. There's a system in Wisconsin that's experimenting with that with children, and they've had enormous success in lowering the fidgetiness in the class, discipline problems, enhancing focus by giving the children stand-up desks. I moved to a neighborhood, and I made a point of moving to a place where I could walk to anything that I need: my job, food, a movie, a library. And it's not exercise, it's just something that I do in my life. My own daughter around middle school stopped being athletic, which was very, very typical of American middle school girls. So instead of telling her to join an organized sport, I said, "Julia, here's a bicycle. This is how you're getting around now." And she doesn't even consider it exercise. She just integrates it into her life. And now she loves it and considered it a very relaxing leisure activity. On a more general level, in my research, I found something as simple as having an employer add a shower at their place or buying rights to the shower at a local facility increases physical activity among employees by 25%. If you add a safe bike trail in a neighborhood, you increase activity 25%. These are certified studies, very simple changes, profound preventive healthcare measures. A person doesn't need a stairmaster to make these changes. In my book, I explore the many ways our inactive lives impact us as a culture, including morally, spiritually, culturally, not just physically. The impact on brain chemistry alone, as many of you professionals here probably know, is just amazing when you remain too sedentary. The impact on body awareness among the young has been steadily declining and impacts civility, and it's related to the fact that they lack so much spontaneous movement. So what can you do? I plead with you to advocate for spontaneous movement for your patients. I plead with you to advocate outdoor movement for your patients. I urge you to step outside of the carefully measured world of science and never lose track of the fact that while the weight machines, the calorie counting, the treadmills, and other various therapies have their place, they also encourage a mindset that physical activity is something separate from our humanity. Humans are built to move. We are the ultimate long-distance trekkers. We cannot thrive in a society that does not allow healthy movement in spontaneous ways for all citizens. I close by asking you to make this part of your mandate as a professional in the health field and become part of the movement that needs to sweep this country to regain its vitality. Thank you very much and congratulations.